والآن سيداتي وسادتي نبقى مع المتحدث الأخير والذي نأمل أن يحفزكم ويمنحكم طاقة إيجابية كما عهدناه دوما. رحبوا معي مجددا بالسيد فيشن لاكياني مؤسس شركة Mindvalley.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, our final main speaker for today, the founder of Mindvalley, Vishen Lakhiani.
Hey everyone. It's wonderful to see you guys again. How are you guys doing towards the end of the event? So, say that again. Thank you. I'm nervous. One of the things I found most remarkable about this event is the number of women entrepreneurs over here. So I flew in from Los Angeles, and there I was meeting some of my friends who are female founders of startups. And they were very frustrated because they were saying that it is so hard to get VC money if you're a female founder. And I believe the amount of VC money in Silicon Valley that goes to women-founded startups is less than 5%. And it's so horrible and it's so frustrating. But it's so amazing to see that here, you guys are so progressive. I heard it's 52%. So that is incredible. You guys are setting an example for the world. And thank you for inspiring, for setting this as an inspiration. I've never seen this in any other country. Even in Europe, the highest country with the percentage of women founders is Estonia. I'm a resident of Estonia. My children are born there. And that is still 25%. So what you guys have pulled off, I want you to know, is you're shining a beacon for the rest of the world to follow. And I'm so proud of you guys. Now, it's appropriate that we started on that because today I want to share a different style of running a company. If you look at how companies run, if you look at how structures of corporations are designed, they are a relic of World War II structures of how the military was organized. Hierarchy, conformity, the general or the boss right at the center. But what if there's a different way to run a company? What if modern science is showing that there are new ways to create organizations which embrace the masculine structure, but also bring in the feminine. And when you bring in both, you amplify the results. This is what I want to talk to you about today. Would that be interesting to you? Now, as you do this, incredible things happen, not just for your company, but for your profit margins, for your employees, and for your life. We're going to talk about how to become superhuman at work. And in the process, make your work more fun, keep people longer, hit your numbers, make people care about your product and your service, make your team happier, and make your customers fall in love with you. The secret is really understanding that the way we have structured corporations and startups thus far is outdated. It's based on World War II hierarchy, industrial age models built on conformity and structure, and built on treating human beings like they are nothing more than matter, like matter operating as cogs in the wheels of industry. But we are so much more. We have spirit, we have soul, we have emotions, we have feelings. Where did this come into play? So we'll explore this. I was born in Malaysia. That is my mom. Those are my cousins. We are standing in a river somewhere in Kuala Lumpur. And Malaysia, as you know, is a developing country. When I was growing up in Malaysia in the 80s and 90s, there was not much opportunity there. So I always dreamed of moving to America. And you heard my story yesterday. My first trip to America was to compete in a martial arts competition where I became the fastest knockout. And I learned a lot from that. I also learned that I loved the United States and I wanted to move there, study there, and build a company there. So I did. And in 1995, I moved to the USA. That's where I went to school. That's where I studied computer engineering. That's where I made most of my best friends in life. And in 2003, I found myself in New York starting Mindvalley. Interesting fact, but this past weekend was the 16th birthday of Mindvalley. And I'm so happy to have been able to celebrate that with you guys here at SEF. Now, 2003, I started Mindvalley. Everything was going well. I was married then to my wife, Christina, who was from Estonia. And our dream was to settle in New York because we love the city, raise little baby Americans, and be part of this great country. But 2003 was 2 years after September 11, and the world had dramatically changed. One day, I arrived at JFK Airport, and like usual, I went to give my passport to the immigration counter. But this time, the man looked at me strange, and he said, "Follow me." So I followed him to a back room, and he said, "Sit here till they call your name." An hour passed, 2 hours passed. I was sitting there going, this is strange. Why am I in this room with all of these strange-looking people from the Middle East, from Mexico, these people who don't speak English and look scared and fearful and unusual? And on the third hour, they call me up. And the man looked at my passport and said, "You're born in Malaysia?" I go, "Yes, I am." And he goes, "Muslim country?" I go, "Yes." And he goes, "You are now on special registration." And I said, "What does that mean?" And he explains to me my fate. He says, from now onwards, you can only use certain airports in America. From now onwards, every time you want to get on a plane, you must go for an interview. It will take up to 2 hours, so come to the airport early. From now onwards, every time you get off a plane, you will come to this room and wait 3 to 4 hours till I call you up, or another immigration counter calls you up to find out where you're coming from and get all your information. And my heart sank. What on earth? I now have to go through all of this hassle just for getting on or off a plane? But it was about to get worse. He said, and by the way, now, while you're in the USA, every 4 weeks you will have to report to the government. And we will need to take your fingerprint, your photo, and you'll need to provide your credit card so we can track all your purchases. And that became my life. I was so angry. I couldn't believe this was happening. I was raised in a Hindu family. I grew up in a Muslim country. I was never born a Muslim. But when you target someone because of their ideology, you're casting a really wide net. Whether I'm a Muslim or not shouldn't matter. 72,000 men between the ages of 18 to 45 who were born in Muslim countries were added to that list, and I was one of them. I was so angry, especially every 4 weeks when I had to stand in the cold in New York in a line that stretched 4 blocks, waiting for my turn to come to a government official to be fingerprinted, photographed, and to give them my credit card. I was angry, and I don't even know what I was angry with. I was angry at America. I was angry at Muslim men. I was angry at brown people. In my head, I asked myself, why the hell did I end up here? What does God want to teach me? It wasn't the inconvenience of waiting in that line for 4 hours in the cold. It was the indignity of being targeted because of the color of your skin and the nation you were born into, or your supposed religion. This was the early implementation of the Muslim watch list, the same watch list that Donald Trump wanted to bring back in 2016. But of course, he lost because Americans all across the United States had woken up. In Silicon Valley, the founders of Airbnb, of Google, of many Silicon Valley companies marched against the Muslim watch list in 2016, and Donald Trump lost. The watch list I was on was that early version. I was on it for 5 years, and then President Obama was elected. He ruled it unconstitutional, and he scrapped the entire thing. Trump lied. He said that watch list caught a lot of illegal people. It caught a lot of criminals. I was one of those criminals because one day I was getting on a plane in the USA with my mother, and I helped my mother on the plane, and I forgot to register. And they closed the door and I couldn't get off the plane, and I lost my US visa. So I was one of those 1,000 people that Donald Trump said was a dangerous Muslim man that this Muslim watch list caught. Now, the good news is America is changing. Trump is not America. When I got back to Malaysia, I spoke to the US Embassy and they said, our system is nonsense. And they got me off. They got me off that list. So bless America, but know that this type of stuff is real. And people suffer when they are targeted. And it doesn't help the world move forward. It creates more division. It creates more hate. And so in 2003, when I was on that list, I decided that I could no longer stay in the United States. Now, where could I go? My wife was from Estonia, but that was way too cold. So we decided to move to Malaysia, where the weather was a little bit better. And so I found myself back home in Kuala Lumpur, the country I had tried to escape from in 2003. And for the next 2 years, I had to build my American company, Mindvalley, from Starbucks in Malaysia. Now, something very interesting was going on in Malaysia back then. Brain drain. See, in a developing country, the smartest people are sometimes leaving. In Malaysia in 2003, 1% of the population was leaving every single year. They were chasing better opportunities in Canada, in Hong Kong, in Singapore, in Great Britain. And my friend said, Vishen, why did you come back? You are never going to be able to build a startup here. There is no talent here. Because the smartest people were leaving. But I couldn't go back to America. I did not want the indignity of being on that damn list again. Now, I was always inspired by personal growth. And when you study personal growth, you understand that if you focus your mind on a problem, you make the problem bigger. The best way to destroy a problem is to create a vision that renders the problem obsolete. Buckminster Fuller said this, you never change things by fighting existing reality. To change something, build a new model that makes the existing model obsolete. I wanted to build an American-style startup. I was stuck in Malaysia with brain drain. So I thought, well, let me create a new vision that would make brain drain obsolete, where everything that I wanted from Silicon Valley and New York, I will create right here in Malaysia. And one day an idea came to me. Well, let me set a goal to build the world's #1 place to work. And I'm going to do it in KL. Not going to do it in London or New York or any other city, but I'm going to do it in Kuala Lumpur. A city that hardly most people cannot find on a map. Now, back when I came up with this, I was working from a tiny factory in a really ghetto part of town. You would not walk the streets at night. So it was pretty ballsy. But the funny thing, again, about the human mind is when you give your mind a direction, when you give your mind a goal, it will find the answers for you. And over the next several years, the answers came. We ended up building an office that was so beautiful that this year in 2019, it made Inc. magazine top 10 world's most beautiful office. We created a culture that was so attractive that brain drain didn't touch us. We drained brains from other countries and brought them to Malaysia. Today, people compete in video cover competitions to get a job at Mindvalley. And they travel from all around the world to the point where our team now comes from 60 different countries working in one office. But I realized why, right? Why was I so obsessed with diversity? Why did I want to bring so many cultures together? I realized I wanted to because I feel that there's lack of understanding in some parts of the world. And I don't want to... I was on that watch list. And that made me experience division and disunity and being labeled at a level that just made me miserable. My children are half Indian, half white. And you know what that means? It means they look Middle Eastern. I don't want my kids on a damn watch list. And whatever I can do to bridge the world and make it create more understanding, I feel is part of my mission. This is one of the reasons why bringing all these people together is so important. But when you bring all of these people together, you got to ensure that you have the right systems in place to make things work out. So, what are the right systems? What is the new way of running a company that I believe is on the threshold of where we are going? This is what I want to share. There's an interesting new field of study called positive optimism. Now, it's measured based on this idea called PQ, your positivity intelligence quotient. See, I had to figure out how to build this incredible workplace, and I had to start looking at all the research and all the science that showed why people came to work, what made them happy, what made them stay, because I was trying to bring people from across the world to come to Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, where the salaries are not high, 1/3 what they would make in the US. So I had to give something beyond salary. We could not compete with salary. We had to compete by giving people what the human soul truly craved. If you understand this model, no matter where your company is, you will be able to attract incredible talent and you'll be able to make them thrive. Now, the basis of this model is this concept called positivity quotient. So your positivity quotient is the ratio of positive thoughts to negative thoughts in your given day. If you are prone to depression, to worry, to fear, your positivity quotient is going to be low. If you tend to be more joyful, more uplifting, more understanding, more compassionate, your positivity quotient is going to be high. Make a mental note right now. Where do you think your positivity quotient is from 0 to 100? Don't say it out, just make a mental note. Honestly, gauge yourself. Over the last 1 week, where has that quotient been? Okay? Now, here's what you need to know. Science is showing that your positivity quotient directly correlates to your performance at work. In this book by Shahzad Shamin, an analysis of more than 200 different scientific studies on almost 250,000 people found that the higher your PQ, the higher your salary, the greater your success in all areas of work, and also your marriage, your health, your social ability, your friendship, and your creativity. It is so good that countries here are now looking at ministries of happiness because PQ improves everything about society. But here's some of the studies. Salespeople with higher PQ sell 37% more. If you have a sales company, hire the happiest, friendliest people. Doctors make 19% faster and more accurate diagnoses. Now, this study was mind-blowing. You know how they elevated the PQ of a doctor? Before they sent the doctor to go see a patient, they gave the doctor a lollipop. That's it, a lollipop, sugar on a stick. But that weird thing of giving the doctor a lollipop elevated the doctor's PQ so interestingly that their diagnoses went up 19% in terms of accuracy. Think of the billions of dollars that would save in the medical industry if we invested in lollipops. Next, higher PQ workers take fewer sick days and are less likely to become burned out. Now, when you look at PQ, you understand that people, when they chase a job, they lie. You think, and people who are applying for jobs, we all lie to ourselves. We say it's about, does this match my academic qualifications? Is the salary right for me? But I've interviewed thousands of people for Mindvalley jobs. And what I notice is something really interesting. The real reason people join your company, the real reason you show up to work is very different from what you tell yourself. What we tell ourselves is what the Culturescape says work is about. The real reason we join is interesting. I noticed that it was 4 things. People take jobs for happiness. You want to be around and in an atmosphere that makes you happy. We take jobs for abundance. We want to be able to earn enough to afford the things in life that we want. We take jobs for growth. We want to grow and become our best selves. And we take jobs for meaning. We want to feel we are leaving a mark in the world. Different companies have different ratios of this. When I interview someone, I ask them, I'm going to give you 10 chips. Put the chips on what matters to you. Now, people who want to work for NGOs or the United Nations, they put a lot of the chips on meaning. People who want to go to Wall Street, right? They care about abundance. They don't care about happiness or growth or meaning. They want to make money fast and retire early. Nothing wrong with that. People who become an apprentice to a master, they care about growth. People who join startups with a fun culture like Facebook or Google, they care about happiness. But it's always a combination of these 4. Now, as I interviewed 2,000 people, I realized that this 4 really matched Maslow's pyramid. As I got into the study of Maslow, who spoke about the hierarchy of human needs, I realized what was happening. See, at the lowest level of the pyramid, you have your physiological needs, food, water, rest. In the developing world, we have that. Governments provide that. You have safety. Unless you live in a place like Syria or a war-torn area, we have safety. But what we are lacking as human beings is love and belonging, esteem, the feeling of accomplishment, self-actualization, which is achieving your full potential or growth, and self-transcendence, which is meaning. These are missing from our life. Now, who provides this? Companies, startups, the corporation. Human beings are craving the 4 upper needs. Governments provide the first 2, but you as entrepreneurs, if you can provide the next 4, you can create magic in your organization. Now, this is what it looks like, right? The The job interview process that I did directly correlates to Maslow. I didn't understand it then because I wasn't studying Maslow, but now I know. And so, happiness, psychologists say that the number one contributor to happiness is love and belonging. Do you feel connected? Abundance. Now, when people say they want abundance, often they're thinking about money, but really what they want is self-esteem. Why do people drive a Mercedes-Benz? I mean, a Proton Saga, which is a made-in-Malaysia car, will still move you, but the Mercedes-Benz gives you a certain amount of self-esteem. We trick ourselves. We think we want money. No. We want to feel significant and to buy the stuff that money gives us to make us feel that we have self-esteem. Now, above that is growth, self-actualization, and at the highest level, it's meaning. It's your soul craving to ensure that your life matters. Now, the trick is to design your company to deliver these 4 things. Would you guys like to know the system? So, there are many ways you can craft culture. How we look at culture is, I look at it from these 4 dimensions, and we experiment. What can we do to create more love and belonging? What can we do to give people a greater sense of meaning? What can we do to give people more self-esteem? What can we do to help people grow? So let's look at the first one, okay? Happiness. To create happiness in your company, the most important thing to know is create love and belonging. Do you know, studies show that religious people are happier than non-religious people? The reason is because religious people come together in a church or a mosque and they connect. They have a pre-built community. Community is the secret to creating happiness. A study by Ed Diener at Harvard found that only 1 ingredient corresponds to happiness. It wasn't great clothes. It wasn't having incredible levels of fitness. It was the strength of your social connection. The more connected we are to each other, the happier we are. Now, the opposite end of that is the more separated we feel, the worse off we are. Loneliness in the Western world has gone up 300%. And Harvard has suggested that loneliness is worse for you than smoking a pack of cigarettes a day. It is worse for you than obesity. Yet, get this. How many of you here are CEOs? Raise your hand. The studies show that 50% of CEOs report feeling lonely. That's the great tragedy. So the first ingredient to create happiness is to create love and belonging in the workplace. So Ed Diener and Martin Seligman, they're the ones who did that study, a really powerful study. And the one thing, the only thing that correlates with happiness is, say it with me, folks, strength of your social connections. Now, how do you fix this? One of the first things we have to understand is that we have to change the nature of work to make kindness part of the job. A lot of us believe that the most competitive person at work is the one who gets the biggest salary, the most hardcore person, the person who, goes straight to work, doesn't waste time chatting with the co-workers, gets stuff done, gets the highest salary. Turns out that's an illusion. There's a study done that showed that if you're in the top 25% of social connectivity score, that means if you're in the top quarter of the most connected people in your office, you are 40% more likely to get a raise. Now, what do they mean by social connectivity score? It means that if you're going down to get a cup of coffee, you ask your coworker, hey, I'm going to go get a coffee, can I get you one? That means that you remember people's anniversaries or birthdays and you might give them a flower or a card. The more your social connectivity score, the more kind you are. And studies show that the kinder you are, if you're in the top 25% of social connectivity or kindness, you are 40% more likely to get a raise. Please try it and report this back to me in 2 years. This is fascinating data.
So we have this tradition.
Can you engineer this? Can you actually create culture in your company that automatically elevates levels of kindness? This is where it gets a little bit weird. So I love a concept that I call culture hacking. I want to understand not only how can we transform an individual, but how can we transform groups of individuals, entire countries, governments, corporations. What I'm going to teach you is a way to transform hundreds of individuals instantly if you are the leader. And it involves opening your mind to a really crazy, radical idea that I was told I may not be able to show this video in the Middle East. But I think the people who see that, who said that, have never been and seen this part of the Middle East. Are you guys open to seeing something that might be a little bit weird? Okay? If you're not open, it's perfectly okay. Just bury your head in your arms like that. Okay? So, one day during Valentine's Day, I noticed that there was a group of people in my office. They were single people, so they didn't have a date or a partner for Valentine's Day, and they were sitting there feeling all miserable, complaining about how stupid Valentine's Day is. And somebody made a suggestion. Well, if we're all single and nobody's taking us out or nobody's giving us gifts, why don't we just be nice to each other? So they decided to play a game. They all put their names in a bowl, and everybody had to draw a name. And if you drew a name, you had to be a secret angel to that person. You had to go the next day, buy a little gift, maybe a little cake, maybe a coffee, maybe a little note, and leave it on that person's desk in secret. And then the very next day, you could reveal who you are. So all the single people did this. And they liked it so much, they decided not to stop at one day, but to do it on the Tuesday and the Wednesday and the Thursday and the Friday. They couldn't stop. And then the people who are in relationships said, this is crazy. My boyfriend is never that nice to me. Can I join in? And so now the people in relationships joined in. And it became a tradition called Love Week. And now we formalize it. Every week during Valentine's Day, everyone in the company draws a name out of a hat. And for one whole week, you have to be a secret angel to that person. You have to understand things about them. You look at their 3 most important questions. You might buy them a book as a gift. And a competition for kindness ensures. And after 1 week only, you get to reveal who you are. Now, people say this is the happiest week of their life. It creates great connection between coworkers. But I cannot possibly explain it to you, so I'm going to show you a 2-minute video that shows you what happened. Watch.
So we have this tradition at Mindvalley. It's called Love Week. It's super cute. This is what people do, right? So you are an angel and everyone has a human. And for the whole week, we just love on this human hard. Like, we get super creative, right? We give them fruit platters and it's all a surprise, and chocolates and really funny notes and pens, and we buy them lunch and they have no idea. So what happens is we get stuck in the bit of a love loop. It's like there's love coming from here and then there's love going there, and it's just love, 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 love. Love Week is all about connection. It's about giving and being open to receiving. It's about bringing depth to the workplace and about caring and sharing, right? Thanks, bro. Look, it's business as usual, right? Like every other day of the week, we love here at Mindvalley. It's in our culture to hug and to kiss and to stare at each other. But we've gone on overload this week. It's like, with love. One of the really beautiful and naturally occurring elements of Love Week is all the surprises. You just never know when you're going to be ambushed with love. People get really creative and they think, how can I best express my love for this person? What can I do? I can go on Facebook, see what they're into, what's their favorite color, what's their favorite food. So it's like Sebastian, for example. He loves guacamole, and I just saw his angel delivered him guacamole. And he's like, guacamole, like his day is made. And why can't we do this every day? I don't know. But the thing is, for this 1 week, we just go on overload, and it's the most beautiful thing. So this is one tradition that we have here at Mindvalley. We have many.
So the great thing about Love Week is it's about appreciation in the workplace. And studies show that when people feel close to each other, when they appreciate each other, productivity goes through the roof. So every company should be doing this. Anastasia, happy Love Week.
Thank you so much. As the Persian poet Rumi once said, love is the bridge between you and everything. So we invite you, go and be the bridge. Go forth and spread this radical social movement with your friends and family and your workplace.
So if you thought that was fun and you want to try it in your company, and by the way, Since we started this tradition in 2011, 5,000 companies have started it with us, including government companies, government agencies in Canada and so on. Just go there. We put up a guide, it's super easy to understand, and you can follow it. And you can show people that video in your company if you want them to try it as well. This is one of the most incredible things you can do in a startup because you create kindness, you elevate positive intelligence. And by the way, in a study by Sharjah Entrepreneurship, he said there's only one thing that leads to the best performing teams. And it is not that they have the best leader or they have the best productivity tools. The best performing teams are groups of people who feel good about being around each other. And when you institute something like Love Week and you make people care and you open their hearts and make people work with compassion, team performance goes up. Love Week takes away 2 hours a day of productivity. But productivity soars for the rest of the year because people are more deeply connected with each other. Do not underestimate how humanness is important in a workplace. And this is a style of designing workplace with a more feminine energy, the energy of connection and compassion rather than push and hustle and hard work that I think is so important in the world right now. If you like the idea of Love Week and you think you're going to implement it in your company, please make a noise. Awesome. So now we go to the second ingredient, abundance and self-esteem. So not all of us can compete in terms of salaries. We can't compete with the salaries of companies like Amazon or Facebook or Google, these giant behemoths. So what do? We compete by being a company that cares about the employee's personal vision. Do you guys remember the 3 most important questions exercise from yesterday? Okay, raise your hand if you were here in the talk yesterday. Awesome, so you know that exercise. Now, I'm going to show you how to use this exercise within your company to elevate levels of self-esteem that completely transform the loyalty of the people around you. So, there is a book called Future Work. And in the book, the author, Bill Jensen, says that the future of work is where companies don't just demand that employees are engaged in the company vision, companies are engaged in the employee's vision. So how do you do it? Well, you have people do the 3 most important questions. They identify their experiences, their growth, their contribution. You stick all of these up on a wall for everyone to see. But then, as the founder or the CEO, you do a little trick. I keep the 3 MIQs, as I call it for short, on my cell phone. And what I do is, every now and then I go through the 3 MIQs of people who work at Mindvalley and I buy them a little gift to support them in their vision. For example, this lady wrote down that she wanted to hike in Nepal. So one day I went to the bookstore and I bought her the Lonely Planet Guide to Nepal. It cost what? $25, $30. But in it I wrote a little note. I believe in your dreams. Hope this comes useful when you make it to Nepal. Now think about what that does. Think about what that does. How many people do you feel truly support you in your dreams? For so many of us, it is so rare. It's so rare to find even one person who truly knows who we are. But what if you work for a company where the founder, the CEO, has your dreams on their phone and thinks about you when they're in a bookstore? Right? This changes the dynamic. I did a test. I tested this out on half my team. On the other half, I didn't buy the book. I felt a little bit guilty about that. But what I noticed is magic happened when I bought the book. And it was often always just a book. One guy, I bought the book for him 5 years ago. Every year since, he remembers my birthday and gives me a shirt. Every year since. And he's been one of my most loyal people because I bothered to believe in his dreams. This is the most... When it comes to ROI versus returns in terms of employee engagement, this is the single biggest culture hack I have found in terms of efficiency. Everyone should be doing this. I'd love for you to make some noise if you like this idea and you'd like to bring it to your company. So here's the data, right? A Gallup study of 10 million employees showed that people who stayed the longest at their job, who was most productive, they said, my supervisor or someone at work cares about me as a person. This is what you're doing. You actually will improve everything about retention, about employee NPS, about the loyalty of your people. Now, we come to growth. So we've covered the first two areas of Maslow's pyramid. Now we're going to the next level, growth. And growth is a really important one. I spoke a lot about growth yesterday. Growth in Maslow terminology is self-actualization. It's realizing who you really are. And most people are obsessed with outside ways of representing themselves. We buy expensive, crazy cars because advertising tells us that this makes us who we are. This is nonsense. Really, while we get obsessed with spending our money on luxury items, we forget that we spend a few hours a day in a car, but we spend 24 hours a day in our bodies. How do we make our bodies the healthiest, the healthiest, the best performing bodies and minds we can have? And that is to create a personal growth lifestyle at work. And it has to start with the company. Now, Sri Kumar Rao, the great MBA professor whom I shared last year over here in Sharjah, said that the biggest mistake that American business schools make is that they make you believe your life is about the business. This is rubbish. He said, rather, your life has to be dedicated to personal growth. If your career takes off, it doesn't matter. Did you grow? If your career sinks or your business collapses, it doesn't matter. Did you grow? When you develop the growth mindset, everything else in life will grow with you. And you will be more resistant and immune to failures and the inevitable road bumps along the way. So how do companies support this? You got to engineer your workplace for growth. Number one, offer healthy food. So in our office, we got rid of all sugar. And we'll have people come from Brazil or Egypt where Coca-Cola is popular. We don't allow Coca-Cola in our office. I mean, anybody can bring in a can, but we don't serve it. We serve sparkling water, regular water, healthy vegetable juices, and so on. And what we find is that very rapidly, people overcome their sugar addiction. Near our coffee machine, there's no sugar. It takes 3 days to overcome a sugar addiction with coffee. I got over mine in 3 days, and it's completely transformed my health. I lost 4 kilograms in 90 days after getting off sugar. And now, the average person who joins my company, the average man, loses between 5 to 10 kg in year 1. But you got to start by offering healthy food. Get rid of junk food. Get rid of products by big American food companies, which are basically fake food designed to suck money out of your wallet while adding fat to your gut. And when you do this, a few people will complain. But in the long term, your base will thank you. And when you get rid of this, people's productivity at work also goes up because sugar affects the brain and memory. Now, number two, give people permission to sleep. So many companies get this wrong. Late night hours are rubbish. They destroy your productivity the next day. I shared this statistic yesterday. Masters in the 10,000 hours study, popularized by Malcolm Gladwell, the masters in that study slept 8 hours, 36 minutes a day. The average American, 6 hours, 51 minutes a day. Don't believe people like Trump who say, I sleep for 5 hours. Look at their damn performance. Encourage people to sleep well. Now, men and women require different sleep times. You got to measure what's right for you. Typically, men require around half an hour to an hour less than women, but it's roughly between 7 to 8 hours. Do not encourage late night working hours. And don't feel like you need to start your day at 9 a.m. We allow people to come in anytime they want. 11 is perfectly okay. People get work done, but they get to sleep. A 1/3 drop. 90 minutes lack of sleep will create a 1/3 drop in your cognition. This means if you are forcing yourself to wake up early because you have a paper or a project that is deliverable, note that 1/3 of your brain is going to be not working for you. That's equivalent to starting your day with a pint of beer. It's absolutely ludicrous. Sleep has to be respected, and sleep is one of the biggest superpowers you can gift your people and yourself. Third, fitness. There's so much science right now that said that putting exercise bikes in a company or encouraging your team to take part in fitness activities together create a much healthier working environment. We provide gym instructors for our team. We go to the gym together. And when you get fit, it increases your energy. It increases your cognition. You become better and happier at work. Number 4, meditation. Last year, 44% of the Fortune 100 offered meditation classes to their employees because so many people are finding that meditation is a superpower. Now, why is it so? Well, you remember the studies on PQ? Meditation is one of the fastest ways to elevate PQ. So when you offer meditation classes or give people access to meditation apps like Ombana on Mindvalley, what happens is their PQ naturally rises, and this allows them to do better at their job and be nicer, kinder individuals. Finally, this is a really important one, give morning autonomy. Daniel Pink, who wrote the book Drive, said a lot of people read that Google gives its programmers 20% time to do whatever projects they want. In many companies, that's not practical, but you can create the same effect of ownership by letting people own their morning. He calls it morning autonomy. He says, start your day late, give your employees an hour in the morning, to spend time with their children, to go work out in a park, to go to the gym, to meditate, have time to make a healthy breakfast. And when you do that, you will gain the same benefit and loyalty as what Google gets from its 20% time. So if you put all of these together, we've covered 3 of the 4. Now we come to the final ingredient. Now in all of these, I'm giving you a couple of tips. You can find your own ways to create growth, to create abundance, to create happiness. Many companies do this in different ways. One government agency that we've been working with, they got their entire team to train for the Spartan race together. Think about how incredible that must be for a team. Another company we did this with, they decided to implement Love Week 3 times a year. Find your own way, but use this as a toolkit to find a roadmap for your unique culture. Now we come to meaning. Meaning is the high point of Maslow's pyramid, what he calls self-transcendence. I once interviewed Richard Branson, and I asked him, Richard, you have got some 300 companies employing 50,000 people, and you live here on this beautiful island. How do you do it? And he said this, it's all about finding and hiring people smarter than you, getting them to join your business, giving them good work, then getting out of the way, and trusting them. You have to get out of the way so you can focus on the bigger vision. That's important. Then he paused. And then he said this line, and here's the main thing. You must make them see their work as a mission. This is the important ingredient. This is why people like Elon Musk get so many of the best engineers to work for him. He's not building a spaceship company. There are 19 other spaceship companies. But why do people join SpaceX? Because Elon Musk doesn't say that he is creating a company to transport goods up and down. If you think about it, SpaceX is nothing more than a vertical trucking company. Horizontal trucking companies move goods this way. SpaceX moves goods this way. No big deal. But Elon Musk doesn't tell that story. He says, we are out to colonize the red planet. We are going to make mankind an interplanetary species. And in a study of engineers in Silicon Valley, the #1 company they want to join is SpaceX. The #2 company, Tesla. Again, because Elon makes mission part of the company. You got to make mission important. But let's get realistic, right? Most of us are not colonizing a planet. How do we create mission? Daniel Pink offers an idea. He calls it mission reminders. Even if you are making something really tiny, like you're making a widget, or you're manufacturing glass, or you're manufacturing like forks and knives, get stories from your customers. And Daniel Pink calls this the power of purpose, and create a customer library for your employees to see. So we do this. We have a full-time person who gets stories from our customers and creates a library on YouTube. And our employees, every time we get a new story of a customer whose life changed because of Mindvalley, we share it with our employees in our weekly meeting. This way, everybody feels connected. Everybody gets a sense of how their contribution is shifting a life. All of you should start gathering customer stories, not to put it on your website, to sell more things. You can do that if you want to, but to do it so that your people get a sense of how their work is touching the lives of others. Now, there's another ingredient that you can bring in, taking a stand. In addition to customer stories, the world is changing. In a recent study, this was done just last year, 86% of consumers believe a company should stand for social issues. And a large number of consumers I believe it was 75% in America, said that they will buy more from companies that take a stand. What does your company stand for? When Patagonia decided to stand for the environment, its sales went up significantly. But it wasn't why the CEO did that. The CEO did that because Patagonia is a hiking goods company, and they couldn't bear to see the environment get devastated. Today, anybody can make anything for cheap in China. Goods are becoming a commodity. There's intelligent minds everywhere. Services are becoming a commodity. What makes your company different is the soul of the founding team. And what makes that soul different is what good that soul wants to bring to the world. This is your stand. So, my stand was unity. So, as you know, I was on that Muslim watch list. That was so painful. And I decided that I want unity to be Mindvalley's #1 stand. It's why we bring people from all around the world. But when that stand becomes part of your company, you embody it in your actions. Unity isn't our product or service. Don't confuse that. Your product or service can be something really simple. It can be bottled water, but you can still stand for the environment. You can still stand for women's rights. You can still stand for kindness. So in our case, our stand is unity. This is how we embody it, and this is how we create incredible loyalty in our people. In 2016, when Donald Trump announced that he wanted to bring back the Muslim watch list, we created this video. Just want to play this video to you so you understand how to embody a stand, and ask yourself, can you do something similar with your beliefs? Hi there. If you happen to be from one of the 7 countries now banned from entering the USA, we're sorry. We're sorry that you have to be targeted so politicians can advance their agenda by creating fear and picking you. And I know it sucks, but we want to help those of you who are applying for jobs in American companies and now maybe can't get those positions. See, we're an American company, but not based in America. Although we started out in New York, we later relocated to Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. We're called Mindvalley, and we're one of the leading transformational education companies in the world, with hundreds and thousands of students enrolled with us. But what makes us unique is that our team comes from 40 different countries. And I wanted to share some amazing success stories of a few individuals who are now banned from entering America for no apparent fault of their own. I wanted to share this to open people's eyes to real stories and real people and the sheer talent available from nations like Syria, Sudan, Yemen, Iran, and others. Like these 2 guys, for example, Abed and Abdul. They joined us from Syria. They built our Android app in record time. Amazing men. Abed lost a brother in the war. Abdul had his home blown up. They can't get into the USA despite being victims of a cruel war, but they moved to Malaysia and started working for us. They were absolutely amazing. Abed in his free time was starting a company to teach kids robotics. Abdul was an amateur magician. Ola is from Sudan. She's an amazing woman who runs our events in the United States. She can't get into the country anymore, which really sucks, but she'll survive. She's so talented, she's going to figure out how to run these events remotely from Malaysia. Naveed is from Iran. He works with our customers. So there's Ibtihal from Yemen. They are part of our customer support team, which recently won an award from Nice Reply for being the #1 customer support team in all of Asia. And then there's this guy, Amir Ahmad Nasser, who now lives in Vancouver, Canada. He used to work with us and is from Sudan. At the age of 26, while working at Mindvalley, Amir wrote a book called My Islam, How Fundamentalism Stole My Soul and Doubt Freed My Mind. That book went on to become rated by Foreign Policy magazine as one of the top 25 must-read books of 2013, and has been prominently reviewed in newspapers like the Wall Street Journal. Today, Amir gets invited to speak at prominent events across America and at Ivy League universities. He did all of this at the age of 26. He can't go to the US anymore to share his important work and message. Even after he's become a Canadian citizen, he'll be at risk of remaining banned simply because he was born in Sudan. You know, fear-based politics. So look, you can't get to America, and we know that's absolute bullshit. We get it, you're scapegoats, we know this, but we get you, we see your talent. In the past, when we've hired people from your countries, we have been blessed to have some of the most amazing souls enter our company. Mindvalley employs people now from 40 countries in our offices around the world. Diversity rocks.
And one more thing, Americans are amazing, wonderful people. You see this in the Americans on our team. You can see this from the protests around the United States when this silly little ban happened. But don't worry, it'll hopefully be over in 4 years. In the meantime, if you're a talented, motivated man or woman who wants to do good work and change the world, we see you, we recognize you and your worth. We'd be honored to have you apply to join our company. Thank you.
So you see that? Everyone welcome. That was the message we are trying to make. And this is not an easy message because we are an American company. We are registered in the US. Our audience is primarily American. And we got a lot of hate for that video. A lot of hate. But an interesting study shows that if you take a stand, even a political stand, roughly 8.5% of people who disagree with you, of your customer base, will stop buying. Roughly 8.5% of people who agree with you, of your customer base, will buy more. But think about this, right? It sounds like it's equal, but think about this. Your customer base is always going to match your philosophy. Our customer base is people who love personal growth, who love travel. Our customer base is maybe 20% conservative, 80% more liberal. And so we actually saw our sales go up, not down. People told us we were crazy to do this, being an American company. Sales went up. The more we started taking a stand, the more loyalty and love we saw from our customer base. My question to you is, what is your stand? And how are you going to voice your opinion? Now here's a tip. How do you find your stand? Your stand is often comes from the pain you suffered. The Rumi said, the wound is the place where light enters. The pain you suffered is often the breadcrumbs to help you find your stand. It was a blessing in disguise that God gave you to wake you up to what you are meant to help heal in the world. Maybe you were a victim of unkindness and abuse, and your stand is kindness and compassion in the workplace. Maybe as a woman, you lost a job or were discriminated against, and your stand is women's empowerment. Maybe you were on a watch list because of your religion or the country you were born in. Your stand becomes unity. Viktor Frankl, who survived Auschwitz, said, when meaning is given to suffering, it ceases to become suffering. Think about the point where you suffered. There is often a hidden message there from God on what you are meant to do to alleviate suffering for others. This is how you find your stand. And it may have nothing to do with your product. But when you take that stand and you make it part of your company, magic happens. You will find that your company will grow to heights that you never, ever, ever expected. Google did an interesting study. This is from a book called Exponential Organizations. Google found that its best employees were not Ivy League students. They were not the Harvard or Yale graduates, but rather young people who had experienced a big loss in their lives and had been able to transform that experience into growth. Deep personal loss resulted in employees who are more humble and open to listening and learning. Know that your suffering or the discrimination you experience or the disempowerment or the abuse makes you a better human being. It makes you a better leader. And in it, you will find the glimmer of what could be your purpose in the world. You know, the Rumi said, O ye who cannot take a good rub, how will you ever become a polished gem? I love people who have gone through suffering. Now that said, how do we know? How do we know if our stand matters? Donald Trump has a stand. Dictators had a stand. Hitler had a stand. There's a very important metric, and it comes from a philosopher called Ken Wilber. Ken says that if you look at human compassion, right? Human compassion is meant to grow. Many thousands of years ago, we lived in an age of egocentric hearts. That means you were kind, you were compassionate, but only to your family. If you saw another hunter trying to kill the deer, you might kill that hunter so your family can survive. Today, we have moved to a world that is ethnocentric. 70% of the world is ethnocentric. Now, what this means is that people are kind, people are compassionate, but the kindness and compassion stops at the border of their nation or the border of their religion. 70% of the world is here right now. It's why Brexit happened. It's why Trump got support to build that border wall. Americans are kind and amazing individuals, but a bad leader can get them to see Mexicans as being different. That is ethnocentrism. To fully know that your stand is aligned with the highest values, you need to move to world-centrism. How wide can you open your heart to people who are different from you, who may have a different religious belief, or be from a different gender, or have a different sexual orientation, or be from a different country? The wider your compassion, the more higher level your stand, and the better results you will get. So you want to pay attention to this in your political leaders, in your governmental leaders, in the people you vote for, and in yourself. We have a responsibility to move from ethnocentric to world-centric, to see ourselves as citizens of the world so that we can truly solve some of the biggest problems facing humankind right now. So make some noise if you like the idea of world-centrism. This is one of the most important ideas to me right now. So when you take on a stand and you understand world-centrism, that your stand should ideally include as diverse a group of people as possible, you gain an edge. Now, in summary, love and belonging, first ingredient, abundance, esteem, growth, and finally, meaning. All of this are new ways to run an organization so you grow like you've never grown before, you attract the best people, you transform their lives, and you transform your company. Thank you. Thank you, Sharjah, for giving me a chance to be here today and to speak from the heart. And I feel so passionate about what I spoke of, like I'm ready to get off the stage. But I was asked to close this event and to lead you through a simple meditation, okay, to get all our minds and our hearts focused. And so, would you guys like to experience this? So firstly, thank you. That was the end of the first part of my speech. I'm now going to go on to a second. This is a completely second thing. So, a couple of years ago, I got fascinated by meditation as a scientific practice, not a cultural practice, but a scientific practice, and I created a form of meditation called the 6-phase meditation. Very often, people don't do meditation because they think it's about clearing their mind, or they think it's associated with certain religious practices. We're not talking about that. We're talking about a scientific protocol to reframe the way your brain thinks. Now, the 6-phase started getting really popular because I made it free. And what happened is a lot of US sports stars and celebrities started endorsing it. Miguel, the famous R&B star, in an interview in Billboard magazine said that he does it before his big concerts with his entire team. This guy, Gerard Butler, remember the movie 300? This is Sparta! Gerard Butler said, this is so incredible, it's a planet changer. Miss Sweden said it helped her rewrite her brain for happiness and success. Tony Gonzalez, who holds 2 NFL records, credited this in multiple interviews. And this is really cool. In September, Bianca Andreescu, a 19-year-old Romanian girl, beat Serena Williams in the US Open. And when they asked her, what is your secret? She mentioned my book. And she is also a graduate of my class for the 6-phase meditation. A lot of sports people, a lot of superstars are using it because it improves their performance. This is truly a meditation for entrepreneurs and for people who are doing big things in the world. Now, meditation is becoming more and more popular. Today in the US, well, last year, 44% of Fortune 100 offered it to their employees. This year, it's well over 50%. But check out this graph, right? Look at the scientific evidence for what meditation is doing for your health and your brain. What I'm going to lead you through is basically going to give you the benefits. It's called the 6-phase meditation because we're going to do 6 little thought exercises really rapidly. And I do this at the closing of events. So the first exercise we're going to do is an exercise in compassion. You're going to imagine the compassion in your heart, and you're going to expand it to fill the entire room, fill the entire country, and then fill the entire world. Because we want to be world-centric. We want to open our hearts to all people everywhere. The second phase is a simple gratitude exercise. You are going to express gratitude for 3 things that happened so far at this event. Maybe it was a person you met who inspired you. Maybe it was an idea. Maybe it was the beauty of this room and the organizers and what they delivered to you. Third, you're going to express forgiveness for your old self. When we come to an event like this, we learn so much. And then we think about the mistakes we made in the past and we're like, oh man, I was so stupid. You're going to see the younger version of you that made the mistake, the younger version of you that did not know and have the wisdom you have today. And you're going to forgive that younger version of yourself. This is a form of self-healing. Then we're going to practice phase 4, future dreaming. You're going to see your life 3 years ahead. What is that vision for your life? Then you're going to see your perfect day tomorrow. What is that perfect day? How is it going to unfold? And finally, you're going to ask your God for a blessing. This is where we tie the first 5 steps, which are rooted in science, with our religion and our cultural belief. Whatever God you believe in, Muslim or Christian or Hindu, this is where you ask whatever God for your blessing, for a blessing, to bless you. And if you are an atheist and you don't believe in God, that's okay. You ask your soul for a blessing, whatever you believe in. Now, the 6th phase is a protocol. You can learn it online. It's completely free. I'm going to lead you through a rapid-fire version of it in 10 minutes. So although these are 6 phases, every phase takes around 1.5 to 3 minutes. You guys ready to begin? Okay, so we're going to play some music in the background, okay? And we will start with compassion. We will go on to gratitude, then forgiveness, future dreaming, perfect day, the blessing. I will guide you through everything. All I want you to do right now is to close your eyes. And let's dim the light. I want you to bring to mind the image of someone you truly love. It may be your son or daughter. It may be your partner, your grandmother, your parents, anyone you truly love. See them in front of you. See their face. Observe their eyes. Feel in your heart your love for this person. And as you feel this love in your heart, imagine this love has a color. Maybe it's pink. Maybe it's blue. Feel your heart covered in the color of this love. Now take a deep breath. And as you exhale, imagine the color of this love expand to cover your entire body. See your entire body covered in the light of this love. Now take a deep breath. And as you exhale, imagine the color of this love expand to fill this entire room. And imagine your love radiating from you to every individual in this room. Every friend you made, every person next to you, to your left and to your right. Everyone behind you and in front of you. Imagine the light of this love filling this entire room. Now take a deep breath. And as you exhale, imagine this love filling the entire UAE. Imagine seeing the UAE as if on a map or on a globe, covered in the light of this love. Now take a deep breath. And as you exhale, imagine this love filling the entire planet. See planet Earth as if on Google Maps or on a globe, covered in the light of this love. You have now finished phase 1. We now go to phase 2, gratitude. I want you to think of 3 things that happened in the last 2 days that you can express gratitude for. You may express gratitude to God. You may express gratitude to the people you met here or the organizers. Maybe it was a new friend you met. Maybe it was wisdom or inspiration you received. Maybe it was the feeling you got being here in this amazing, inspiring space. As you think of these 3 moments, feel your joy, feel your heart light up with gratitude. And now we come to phase 3. Phase 3 is about forgiveness, a very important step in our spiritual growth. I want you to think about a younger version of you, a younger version that maybe didn't have access to the knowledge and the wisdom you have now. Think of yourself at a time when you made a big mistake in your business or in life. See that younger version of you. See that younger version in front of you. Let that younger version know that you understand and you forgive yourself. Feel yourself an older brother or sister to this younger version of you. Let them know that it's okay. They didn't have access to what you know now and who you know now. Let them know that you learned from the mistake they made, and that you are better off for it. And when you're ready, mentally, give them a hug. You may even raise your hands and imagine as if you are hugging them. Now we come to phase 4. You have learned so much here. I want you to imagine what your life would look like 3 years from now. Set a bold intention for your life. See your future workspace. See the lifestyle you lead. See the success you are facing. The income you are earning. There are many dimensions of your life 3 years ahead that we can look at. But since this was on entrepreneurship, we're going to focus on your work and career. Imagine and play a little game. How amazing is your life 3 years ahead? What does your office look like? Who is in your office? How do you feel as you are in your work, in whatever position you're in? How are you interacting with your colleagues or clients? What are you excited or proud of? How do you feel 3 years from now? Who are you in terms of your identity, your confidence, your self-worth? How are you helping the world and supporting others? And now we come to phase 5. With this 3-year vision in mind, think of an action you can take tomorrow. What would tomorrow look like for you from the time you wake up to the time you go to bed? that would help make a difference and move you towards this 3-year vision. See yourself doing some activity tomorrow. Maybe it's reviewing notes. Maybe it's calling a friend you met here. Maybe it's starting a personal growth practice. What would you do tomorrow? See your day tomorrow unfold as you wish, in a sequence, as you implement new ideas, new beliefs that you gained here to make your 3-year vision come true. And now, as we wrap up the 6th phase, think about your God or your higher power. In whatever is your religious tradition, ask for a blessing or a prayer so that you can have your full potential and give back to fellow humankind. And now, you may open your eyes. And as you slowly come out of this meditation, pretend as if everything you just did in your mind is going to come true. Live in a little state of like excitement and expectancy that magic is about to infuse your lives. And can we kill the music now? Thank you for being here. And what I want to ask you to do is to stand up now. And as I get off the stage, I want you to just look around the room and acknowledge each other and all the amazing people here. And I want you to just go, and before you walk out of this room, give a hug or shake a hand or look someone in the eye, but do it with 10 different people. And then you have my permission to leave. Thank you, Sharjah. Thank you for inviting Mindvalley here. I'll see you all again soon.